It's astonishing, really, that it's taken so long for the established car makers to catch up with Tesla. After all, the Model 3 was launched back in 2017 and made it to the UK a couple of years later, and it hasn't looked back. It was the best-selling electric car in the UK in 2021, and it remains the benchmark by which the affordable executive electric classes is measured. But it has felt in recent months like the traditional car makers are beginning to nibble away at Tesla's lead. We even rated the new Kia EV6 as a better buy than the Tesla Model Y. And then there's this, the BMW i4. It's on sale now, available in a couple of different variants. You can get the hot M50, which is super powerful and four-wheel drive and quite expensive. But this is the eDrive 40. It costs from £52,000, 335 brake horsepower and a range of up to 365 miles, which stacks up very nicely against the Tesla Model 3 long range. Now we're going to go on and talk about the practicality, the real world range, the charging stuff and what these are like to drive on the road in just a minute. But before we do all of that, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel, turn on your notifications and all of that. Now, let's talk charging. Both the BMW and Tesla get rapid charging speeds of up to 210 kilowatts, which will deliver a 100-mile top-up in 10 minutes or an 80% battery in around about half an hour. However, the Model 3 has the advantage of access to the Tesla supercharger network, which remains the most widely spread and most reliable public charging infrastructure. A full battery from a 7-kilowatt home wall box will take around 12 hours in the Tesla or closer to 13 in the BMW. So that is all your plugging in stuff. Now let's talk about the practicality. The BMW i4 is a pure electric version of the 4 Series Gran Coupe. I think it means that it looks quite a lot better than the Tesla Model 3. It's just much better proportions, much sleeker, and it also means that it's quite a practical car, not least because you do get quite a big hatchback boot opening. So you don't only get the big boot opening, you also get a decent sized load bay. So you're going to get, a single chunky buggy in there fairly easily. Just bear in mind that obviously the boot's quite shallow because you've got that sweeping roofline, and you do get underfloor cable storage in the i4, which is great, unless you have added the optional Harman Kardon system, in which case you just get your subwoofer back there instead, which is a bit of a disappointment, to be honest. And that means that you probably are going to have your cables hanging about in the boot. So that's not ideal, it has to be said. The Tesla's boot is a touch smaller than the i4's, but it is the more compromising saloon opening that will be the bigger limitation than the overall size. The storage in the nose of the Model 3 is a great addition though, and it is a more convenient place to keep your cables. The i4's rear seats are raised a tiny bit over the standard Gran Coupes in order to get that battery into the floor of the car, but it does still feel like quite a comfortable place to be. If you're 6 foot or over, you're probably going to feel a bit tight for headroom. Other than that, I think it's absolutely fine. You do have a big tunnel in the middle here, so a third person, somebody sat in the middle, isn't going to be very comfortable. The Tesla's rear seats offer similar leg and headroom, but the flat floor does mean that someone in the middle would be more comfortable here than they would in the BMW. The BMW's interior definitely feels a bit more conventional than the Tesla's, which is fairly inevitable, I suppose. It's just going to be a matter of opinion whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing. Certainly, I think the BMW's interior, by any standard, is one of the best perceived quality out there. It feels absolutely lovely. All the materials, the general sort of perceived build quality, really classy and very nice. And I do think it looks great as well. It's not as minimal as the Tesla, but it's quite logical to use. The driving position's great. It is a shame that you have to pay extra for adjustable lumbar support. That feels a bit cynical on a car of this cost. You have to add it as part of the Comfort Plus pack, which also brings keyless entry, so you're definitely going to want to add that. Not only that, you are probably going to want to add a few other bits and pieces. The Tesla is just a bit better equipped, it has to be said. At least you do get, even on the standard i4, you do get part Alcantara seats rather than the full leather that we have in our M Sport car here. You also get LED lights, 18-inch alloys, you do get the essentials, it's not terribly equipped. I also really like the infotainment in here. I love this curved touchscreen, I think looks absolutely fabulous. I think the graphics are the best out there. And it's not too difficult to use either. The i4's touchscreen has the best graphics in the class, with quick responses and a fairly logical menu layout. The home screen tablets can be personalised, and it's got all the features you want, including Android Auto, wireless Apple CarPlay, sat-nav, charger search function, over-the-air updates and intelligent voice control. It feels very different in here. Notably, it's quite a lot lighter and airy because you get this standard glass roof on the Tesla, which would cost you over £1,000 on the BMW. Not only that, of course, because Tesla has integrated all of the controls into this screen, the dash is completely free of switchgear, and that can feel a bit weird initially. If you've never driven a Tesla before, you get in and it just feels very peculiar not having any aircon controls. Even the fan itself is all controlled through this screen. So yeah, it does take some getting used to, definitely. I still feel that the Model 3 would benefit from a head-up display, because you do have the speedo showing on the screen up here. I think that would be a good thing. I still think this steering wheel is particularly ugly, but it's perfectly nice to hold and use, I guess. The driving position, again, I'd quite like the seat to drop a tiny bit lower. I do tend to feel like that. I like to have a low driving position. Visibility is good, and I think the quality actually is fine in the Tesla Model 3, even if it's not quite up to the sort of perceived level that you get in the BMW. Tesla's touchscreen has spawned the migration of physical buttons into touchscreens across much of the mainstream car market now, and with a little familiarity, it's easy to find everything from the car's dynamic options to the climate control with just one or two prods at the screen. It doesn't get Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, settling for Tesla's own nav and connected systems, as well as online streaming apps or Bluetooth and USB connectivity for playing the music off your phone. Over-the-air updates and hidden computer games are a given. So it's clearly very close on both infotainment and practicality for these two. I have to say, I definitely prefer the cabin in here. I really prefer having the conventional dials and the speedo, and the i4's also got a head-up display if you add the necessary pack and stuff as well. So I'd definitely go for the interior in here, and I think I'd probably have this for the way it drives too. It just feels a bit more like a driver's car. So the steering in this, it's quite light actually in comfort, and I have to say when I first started driving it, it felt like it was quite nervous. It's quite an immediate response, and that can take a little bit of getting used to. But other than that, I think this feels like a very smooth, very sort of intuitive car to drive. In fact, I think if you're going into one of these cars, either the Tesla or the BMW or any electric car for the first time, the BMW is quite good for feeling quite conventional. This is a theme, isn't it? It just feels like a more normal car than the Tesla, which is wonderfully different and sort of has that fantastic essence of being a bit more of a tech product than a traditional automotive product like the BMW. And again, I guess that does come down to opinion ultimately as to which you prefer. Certainly, I think that the way the BMW drives, slightly better steering feel, you get a bit more feedback, the way it's kind of got real urgency into a corner, really nicely balanced. This lower driving position helps to give you a bit more of a sense of connection too. I think it all just gels really well together. Makes it feel like both a car that is very familiar and forgiving and lovely, while also being quite good fun. Much the same can be said of the performance in the i4. Now you've got 5.7 seconds to 62 miles an hour, which, let's face it, seems pretty pedestrian next to the Tesla Model 3, and I'll talk more about that when I drive the Tesla in just a second. But the way that the BMW delivers its power, it's a more linear build of power than it is in quite a lot of other EVs. And I quite like that. I think it makes it feel, again, a bit more familiar. I think this is going to be a really lovely car for you if you are looking for something that doesn't have that sort of deliberately other sense that some EVs kind of revel in. Loads of grip too. I mean, it's been really damp, pretty horrible conditions, really cold today as well, and yet it feels absolutely planted and unflappable, this car. Really good motorway cruiser. I would add, this test car has got the adaptive dampers on it, which is part of the M Sport Pro Pack, which you can only get on the M Sport. There's no getting away from the fact that you can add a lot of options to the BMW. I think you're getting more car for your money with the Tesla. You don't have to add all these options to the i4 though. I think if you can go for the M Sport, then the adaptive dampers might be worth it. I've not tried the car without them, so it's very difficult to say one way or the other. You can get the standard i4 and be more moderate in your speccing than this quite high spec car and still have a really lovely car. Regenerative braking is adaptive in both the BMW and the Tesla, meaning that the car will gradually apply the brakes when it senses a car or junction up ahead. It's easy to get used to these systems, and they both bleed in nice and smoothly, and you learn to get along with it very quickly, although the BMW can be caught out occasionally by a parked car up ahead or by somebody pulling out in front of you on the motorway. As for real-world range, both of these cars are very efficient. In the summer, we'd expect to see around 300 to 350 miles depending on whether you're on the motorway or not, and in winter conditions, we'd expect to see that drop to more like 250 to 280 miles. Please forgive the grubby cars on this particular shoot. There is not much you can do to keep a car clean on epically muddy British roads. 4.2 seconds to 62 miles an hour in what is probably one of the more mundane Tesla models. It's just off the scale, isn't it? I mean, Tesla has completely changed the game when it comes to what people expect for performance from an electric car. And I mean, it is just an exceptional thing. It's so addictive, that huge rush of acceleration you get. But it's not intimidating or scary, I must say. The throttle's quite nice and responsive. You get really good sort of sense for what's going on. The four-wheel drive gives you confidence as well, so you do feel like it's just a very neutral feeling, quite grippy, but still kind of playful when you want it to be. It's a really nice balance with the Model 3. I think this is the nicest of any of the Teslas to drive, especially if you like, you know, driving with a bit of vigour on a nice country road or whatever. If you like that, the Model 3 is great. But I would edge it to the BMW in terms of, you know, sheer kind of handling, precision and finesse. There's definitely it's a bit more tactile steering in the BMW. The Tesla steering is fine. So you've got your variable steering weight as well. So you've got your comfort, your standard and your sport modes. Sport mode's a bit too heavy, I think, for the steering, but I quite like the standard mode. That's really nice. Ride comfort in the Tesla is fine, but it's just a bit choppy and it just doesn't really quite settle down as well as it does in the BMW, albeit with those adaptive dampers on the i4. No doubt, of course, the Tesla's a fantastic cruiser, really good refinement. I think there's a little bit more tyre noise and wind noise, but by any standards, both the Model 3 and the i4 are just absolutely exemplary motorway cars, just really brilliant. I think it really is actually more about getting used to this interior and not having something right in front of you that anybody who's not used to an EV might find peculiar. And you get Tesla's fabled autopilot system as well, of course. Effectively, it's standard, very advanced adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist, or you can step up through enhanced or full autopilot. This thing will even steer itself off the motorway according to the nav guidance. It's pretty incredible stuff. But it's not autopilot as many people would think autopilot is. The car doesn't drive itself. You have to be in control of it as a legal requirement as well as just for common sense, really. It's a while off before we have really, truly self-driving cars, and the language frustrates me because I think it can really mislead people. If you can get past that, the technology itself is, without any question, absolutely leads the market. It really is incredible. But this and the i4, they're the best cars in the class. Which one is best? It's proving tricky to decide, to be honest. It's such a tight comparison between these two. They're both so good at blending that luxury feel, comfort and sportiness, and they're both similarly efficient, so manage comparable real-world range. Even monthly finance tends to be close, with PCPs for a retail buyer starting at around about £600 per month with an £8,000 deposit. If you know that you're going to do really high mileage and will need routine use of public rapid chargers, the Tesla supercharger network is still that much more reliable and widespread that the Model 3 is likely to be the better bet. But the public charging infrastructure is improving at such a great rate, and the BMW is better to drive, slightly more practical, and the interior is just so much classier, that if the purchase costs stack up, our money would go on the BMW i4. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel, and head to CarGurus UK for a whole host of fantastic used cars.